Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Tech Showdown. My name is Kevin, this is my co-host Teddy, and today we're going to be checking out another gaming laptop, and I think you guys are going to really like this one. It is the Asus ROG Strix GL502VT 15.6 inch IPS Full HD gaming laptop. So this one's quite interesting. Obviously you can automatically tell from the very small dimensions, it's very thin, that this is going to be quite interesting, and it really stands out already, as you can tell by the looks. So this should be quite a fun one to jump into. So let's first, as always, start with the exterior. The first thing you'll notice is that, and I try very hard to make sure all the products I display to you guys are very clean beforehand and everything, but brushed aluminium is just a nightmare with the fingerprints, and you'll see a lot of reviewers having trouble with it also. So it's got the brushed aluminium on top with this like highlighter, you know, like a highlighter orange. That's what it looks like to me, highlighter orange on top. You'll also find it once you open it up, which we will do in a minute. So yeah, quite a distinct look. I mean, the brushed aluminium isn't that distinct, we've seen that heaps, but this highlighter orange definitely is. It actually, the first time I saw it, I thought it was actually lit up, and it isn't. Right now it's turned off. If it's, you're worried, you know, that this is turned on camera, it's not. This is how it always looks. This is just the color, it's not lighting or anything like that. So yeah, don't think it's like that. Now, it's extremely thin. It's only 23.5 millimeters. Wow, 23.5 millimeters, so very thin. And it's actually very light as well, coming in at 2.2 kilograms with the battery in. So that's quite interesting also. So we'll open up here so you guys can see the inside a little bit, looks-wise, and you'll see that the orange transfers also to the inside here as well. So you see the WASD keys are also orange, and you see the accents all around. But aside from that, it's pretty normal black, you know, standard looking. This looks like brushed aluminium, but this is in fact plastic on the inside. It's only on the lid that you get the brushed aluminium look. Now let's quickly talk about I/O then. So we'll jump around because there's absolutely nothing on the front or the back. There's just vents on the back. However, on the left-hand side, if we look there, we'll see up front there's a USB 3.1 Type-C port. Got another USB 3.0 port there. Full-size HDMI mini display port. That's a where Ethernet will plug into, and your DC in. And if we flip around to the right-hand side, working back to front, we see a Kensington lock. Then we see SD card reader, two more USB 3.0 ports, and a headphone jack. Headphone microphone combo jack, actually, I believe. Yeah, it is. So that's quite interesting there. So let's turn this guy on then, and as we're turning it on, let's talk about some of the specs then. And oh boy, do you think they were of interest? Do you think they threw something new in here that we haven't seen before in a gaming laptop? Well, you would be wrong, because it's the same old we see on all the gaming laptops. So the CPU it's using is the Intel i7-6700HQ, which is a quad-core with hyper-threading, and it turbos all the way up to 3.5 GHz. Wow, we haven't seen that CPU get used in a million laptops before, million gaming laptops. RAM-wise, it's coming with 16 gigabytes of DDR4 memory running at 2133 megahertz. The GPU, oh, very adventurous. It's the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 970M, like we see in everything else. This 6700 HQ and CPU mixed with the 970M GPU combo is just, oh my goodness gracious. Please, guys, just do something else. AMD, come into the gaming laptop market, for God's sakes. Anyways, as far as storage goes, coming with a 256 gigabyte SSD, also standard as, and a 1 terabyte HDD for your mass storage, very standard there. And communications wise, it's coming with 802.11 wireless AC and Bluetooth 4.1, so that's really good there. So let's talk about this screen then. So this is an IPS display. It's 1080p, 15.6 inch. So 15.6 inch is what I like the most. It's the best compromise I find in terms of laptop size and screen size and that. And it's of course the most popular one out there. So very, IPS means you're going to get great color reproduction. It's true here. It's 68% Adobe RGB and 100% sRGB. So that's really good. It also means that you get fantastic viewing angles. As I'm trying to show you guys now, you can see if we sort of turn it around a little bit to like a 45 degree for you guys, you can still see it's very, very good color-wise. So it's really, really nice there. Great color reproduction. Now, one thing I did notice, and it might be hard to show you guys on the camera, but you're going to have to take my word for it, is that I did see some light bleed around the bottom. Not a huge amount, but, a slight amount, a noticeable amount. So that was, but I would only really notice, obviously, if the screen's very dark, you do notice it. It can be quite hard to show you guys on the camera, but it was there, which I didn't really, really like. But there was a bigger issue with this display, and that was the response times. Now, this is a gaming laptop. Of course, it's ROG as well. If you're going to make a gaming laptop, don't put a display in it that is extremely slow just because you want good color reproduction. Now, I might be wrong here, but I would suspect that, like myself and many other gamers, would rather sacrifice some of that good color reproduction and viewing angles that you get with an IPS display for a TN and have a much faster response time, because it was noticeable. The response time on this display is noticeably slow. And something just happened there. Caught it out this corner of my eye. But we'll carry on. So yeah, something it was just slow, okay? We'll put it that way. It noticeably slow, and I wasn't a big fan of it. So yeah, I don't really like it for that. However, that only really affects gaming, so for general use, it's fantastic. For watching movies or any media and stuff like that, it's going to be absolutely superb, so it still does a good job in those areas. Now, sound-wise, so it has two speakers in the top here, as you can see on either side of the touchpad there. So they're upward facing, so that's really good. Your hand isn't going to muffle it, or if it's the downward facing ones, they'll often be muffled if you're using it on a desk or on your lap or anything like that. So that's good. They're upward facing. These go really, really loud. Now you might be wondering, well, what does that have to do with it? A lot of laptops I test, they actually have such crappy speakers in them that they, you could max out the volume to 100% and it's still, you might not be able to hear it over background noise, maybe road noise or something, depending on where you live. It can be that bad. However, that wasn't a problem at all with this one. It goes very, very loud, so that was good. However, the bass is pathetic. Just pathetic. My God, I went to listen to some, hip-hop songs and stuff, and I thought, like, what is going on here? The bass is so, so weak. It's really, really noticeable. And when you're gaming as well, like explosions and stuff, it just sounds terrible. So, it's good enough to get you by. However, if you're someone that takes audio seriously, then you're really, really, really going to want to wear a good pair of gaming headphones with this gaming notebook, or else you're not going to have as much of a satisfactory experience if you're someone that takes audio even a little bit seriously. I would highly recommend you getting a good pair of headphones. Now, as far as the keyboard goes, it's coming with a chiclet gaming keyboard with the scissor switch type keys. It's pretty good. It has decent travel at 1.6 millimeters, which is just slightly more than your average gaming laptop would have. The layout, for the most part, is pretty good, except over on the right-hand side with the numpad, it's a little bit squished in, which was a little bit funny at first to get used to. However, if you own this laptop and was using it all the time, you would probably get used to it, and it wouldn't be so much of an issue. For typing, it was just fine. I had no issues with it at all. You're going to be able to type documents on it without any worries at all. And for gaming, it was also really good. So this is just an all-round, pretty solid keyboard. So let's move on now to the touchpad then. So it's a, pretty decent size, pretty standard size, I would say. My finger slides easily across it, so I didn't have any issues with that. Other ones I test are really, really sticky, and that can be an issue. This one wasn't at all, so that was really good. Accuracy-wise, it was also extremely solid. I had no worries there with that at all. I never misclicked anything. However, it did have a strange thing, which I noticed that straight away, as soon as I took it out of the box and started, like loading up Windows and stuff on it, is that the touchpad is extremely loose, would be the best way I can possibly put it. It's like if the slightest bit of pressure you put down on it will cause it to click. It's just so loose. So yeah, extremely sensitive to clicking and stuff like that. It pushes down so easily, and I wasn't a huge fan of that because you'll often misclick or accidentally drag things like across the desktop and others at other times. So it was really annoying in that sense, and I just wasn't a big fan of this touchpad. And you guys know that I test a lot that I really like, and there's a lot that I dislike, and this one would probably be right smack bang in the middle. It's not good, but it's not bad either. It's just like meh. So let's now talk about the performance. So it's nothing out of the ordinary. If you've watched any of my other gaming laptop reviews that run the same CPU and GPU combo, then you'll probably know what to expect. However, if you're new and you haven't watched any of those, then I'll tell you about it right now. So the first benchmark we did was a synthetic benchmark, and that is the Unigine Heaven 4.0 DirectX 11 benchmark. This is with everything maxed out at 1080p, and it scored 34.1 frames per second average, so that's pretty decent there. And moving on, we have Dirt Rally. This was also at 1080p, DirectX 11, everything maxed out, and it scored 45.2 frames per second average, so that's fairly decent there. You could probably get it up over 60 if you brought some of the filters down, because I had the filters all the way turned up. So you could still probably play it at ultra, just you'd have to move all the filters down to either off or very low. And the last game we're going to talk about, a bit of an older one now, is Shadow of Mordor. So this again was 1080p, DirectX 11, everything maxed out, and it scored 78.7 frames per second. So you can see on older titles, you'll be able to run them on their highest presets with all the filters turned on, no worries, and you should be able to get over 60 FPS consistently. So it should do very well. And that basically is what I say with all the laptops, gaming laptops I've tested with these specs, is that you can expect to fully max out older games, but newer games, you should be able to run them on quite a high preset, either high or ultra. However, you are definitely going to have to play with the filters unless you're happy at just playing over 30 frames per second. But if you want to play at over 60 frames per second, you will need to turn those filters down to bring that frame rate up. Now let's talk about the heat and noise then. So how hot did it get? So it is quite thin, which would lead you to believe it would run extremely hot or extremely noisy, and that's sort of half true at least. So to do the CPU temps, I did the benchmark with an Intel Extreme Tuning Utility, and the CPU went up to 71 degrees Celsius. So that's pretty good there. It says no throttling, it's miles away from where it will start throttling, so that's really good. It's pretty decent as well considering how thin this laptop is, so I have no issues with that at all. 71 degrees Celsius on the CPU is a very good score. And now for the GPU, and I did this in the Unigine Valley benchmark on the Extreme HD preset, and the 970M went up to 70 degrees Celsius. So very close there to the CPU in terms of temperatures. And this is what very actually quite surprising, because a lot of thin and lights do get very hot. So I was very impressed with that. However, now we move over to noise, and I do have to tell you guys that it did get quite noisy, especially when things really start to heat up. When the GPU or CPU get over a sort of like 70 degree mark, then the fans really do start to ramp up. However, it is very gradual, so that is quite good. And generally when you're gaming, it should be alright, because these are sort of pushing, especially the Intel Extreme Tuning Utility, that's pushing it to the max, and most games won't do it as hard as many of these synthetics will. But yeah, it has, I would say, above average, slightly above average in terms of noise when you're gaming, but yeah, it can tend to ramp up, and that's just because of how thin it is. It's one of those things you've got to expect when it comes to gaming laptops like this. Now let's talk about the battery life with this. So gaming laptops generally have pretty terrible battery life, and it's something I always criticize them for when they only get 3.5 hours of battery life. And it wasn't the case with this one. It was actually one of the biggest surprises I had with this gaming laptop, was the battery life was actually really good for a gaming laptop. So with normal use, and by that I mean with sort of like average to high brightness and everything working like normal, like you haven't put it on power saving mode or anything like that, and you're just browsing the web, you're watching YouTube, you're talking to people, you're browsing social media, all that carry on. you should see around 6 hours, give or take maybe half an hour either way, depending on what brightness and what exactly you're doing with it. So that's very, very good. I have no issues with that. That's really terrific battery life for a gaming laptop. So that's really, really good. Asus did a very, very good job here in terms of battery life. Now, if you want to be very conservative with it, turn the brightness all the way down, and you're just going to be, say, typing a document, or you're not watching videos or anything like that. You'll probably see up to about 8 hours, so you could extend it by about 2 hours. And on the flip side, if you're gaming and your brightness maxed out, then you probably see it drop down to under 4 hours, depending on what game you're playing, and of course the settings, like, depending on what you have it set at. So that's all very good though. It's amazing to think that this laptop, when you're gaming on it, will still probably get around the same battery life as many gaming laptops when you're not gaming on it. So that really does say something right there. Now, as far as software goes, it comes with a bit of bloatware, which is sort of typical for any gaming laptop these days. I don't really like it, but whatever. But it did come with 2 useful utilities. The first was ROG Gaming Center, which lets you know what's going on with your CPU and your GPU temperatures and all that other stuff. It's just a really handy utility to be thrown in. I really quite like it. And the other is a Game First 4, which will basically you can set it up so that it will prioritize games over your network, so that maybe help bring your ping down a little bit, or just help in general with your connection when you're gaming. So that's also quite a useful software there. Which brings us now to the conclusion. And what do I make of the Asus Strix ROG GL502VT? So looks-wise, I think it's nice. It's really good dimensions, very thin, very light. I think it's pretty sexy looking. The orange is something new. It's eye-catching. I quite like it. The brushed aluminum we've seen plenty of times before. It is a bit of a finger magnet, but it's still a nice material to have on a laptop at the end of the day. So yeah, I think this overall is a good looking laptop, and I do quite like it. However, it may be a bit too much of an acquired taste for some people out there. Now, display-wise, really good. Great color reproduction, fantastic viewing angles for watching media on. It's just absolutely terrific. However, for gaming, a little bit of an issue there. The response times are noticeably slow, so I wasn't a huge fan of that. Maybe only enthusiasts would ever notice it, but still some average users might still notice it when they are gaming. It's just something to take into consideration. And also there was a bit of light bleed, which I'm not a big fan of. The speakers are good, go very loud, however, they lack bass. So depending on what you're going to be watching and listening to on this, it could be an issue for you guys out there. It's just a big letdown there. I don't expect any gaming laptop to have good bass because they usually have very tiny speakers, but I would expect a little bit better than what this guy was delivering. As far as the keyboard goes, great feeling keys, nice travel, nice switch. Well, it's nothing compared to a mechanical keyboard, but it's still pretty good as far as a laptop goes. However, I thought the layout was a little bit strange on the right-hand side where they squished in the numpad. I wasn't a huge fan of that. Touchpad, good size, finger slides easily, accurate. However, it's a bit loose and you can easily click things by accident, so I wasn't a huge fan of that. Performance-wise, it's going to deliver good, solid, all-round performance for anybody out there. It should get you by for all your 1080p gaming needs. No worries at all. You might just need to play with the filters a little bit. Heat is about standard, goes up to about 70 degrees Celsius on the CPU and the GPU. However, the noise is a bit above average, so also take that into consideration. Battery life was fantastic for a gaming laptop, especially a thin and light one like this, so I was very impressed with that. Extremely good battery life of around 6 hours for a general casual use. And with the price right now at $3,099 at Playtech, it is quite a bit of money, but I think it is worth it in its own way. It does have its drawbacks, but it also has a lot of pros. This is a good battery life, thin and light, powerful gaming laptop that doesn't have absurdly high temperatures, and although the fan noise is a little on the high side, it's definitely nothing too excessive. But it does have very clear cons, so you're going to need to really think about it with this laptop. Are those cons really a big deal to you? Are you a person that's going to be gaming a hell of a lot on this? If you're not, then things like the slow response time on the screen probably aren't going to be as big of a deal to you. So it's just really about summing up those pros and cons for you. No gaming laptop is perfect. There's ones that are pretty close, but they'll cost twice as much as this one. So you got to think, for the price, it does definitely have its cons, but it has a lot of pros as well. So this one's hard for me to say or to recommend to you guys. I think you just really need to think about those drawbacks that I said and think how applicable they are to you, and then make your decision from there. And that's gonna round out this laptop review. So as always, I thank you guys for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already to catch more gaming laptop reviews, peripheral reviews, hardware reviews, and of course GPU showdowns, which there will be more coming right around the corner. So hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and as always, I'll catch you guys next time.